All right, let's dive into a topic that has been a real head scratcher for theologians for, well, centuries. It's a paradox that comes straight out of the book of Romans, and it forces us to ask some really tough questions about who's in control and who's responsible. So, let's get right into it.
And here it is. This is the central mystery, isn't it? If God is truly sovereign, in complete control of everything, directing every single outcome, then how on earth can he turn around and find fault with anyone? It feels like a total contradiction. I mean, if our actions are just part of some divine blueprint, where does our responsibility even come in? So, to unpack this puzzle, the Apostle Paul doesn't launch into some complex philosophical argument. Instead, he gives us a simple, ancient analogy that pretty much everyone back then would have understood immediately: the relationship between a potter and their clay. Now, this quote is a direct challenge. It immediately flips the script on us. Suddenly, the argument isn't about our rights as the creation. Nope, it's all about the Creator's rights. It establishes the potter's absolute, unquestionable authority to do whatever he wants with the material he's working with. Let's just pause on this for a second, because absolutely everything hinges on this one powerful image. The potter, that's God, the all-powerful creator, and the clay, that's us, humanity. Getting your head around this simple metaphor is really the key to unlocking this whole paradox. Okay, so here's a really crucial part of the analogy that you can't miss. The text calls it the same lump principle. See, the potter isn't starting with some perfect, pristine, neutral clay. This lump represents all of humanity, which, in this context, is described as already fallen, already rebellious. So right from the get-go, the material itself is inherently resistant to what the potter wants to do. And that idea leads us to this theological concept called judicial hardening. The classic example: Pharaoh, in the book of Exodus. The story goes that Pharaoh first hardened his own heart against God's commands. It was his choice. And only after that did God step in and harden his heart further. It's like God was confirming Pharaoh on the rebellious path he'd already set for himself, essentially locking in that human decision to serve a much greater purpose. So if you've got God and humanity both involved in the same event, where does the fault actually lie? Well, according to this line of reasoning, the answer is found by looking at two completely different sets of intentions that are at play at the same time. This slide just lays it out so perfectly. On one side, you have humanity's motivation. And what is it? It's rebellion. It's the desire to reject authority and be in charge of our own lives. But then, on the other side, you have God's intent, which is to take that very act of rebellion and somehow weave it into a larger, incredible plan for redemption. And this right here, this is the crucial distinction. The fault, the blame, isn't assigned based on the final outcome. It's based on the motive of the human heart. So even if a rebellious act ends up serving God's ultimate plan, the person who did it is still judged for their own wicked intention. Okay, so let's just take a quick step back. We've talked about the potter's absolute rights, the resistant nature of the clay, and these two totally different intents. Now let's put all those pieces together and see how they form this grand design. This sequence on the screen lays out the logic perfectly, step by step. Okay, step one: God offers guidance, a command of grace, like gather under my wings. Step two: humanity, in its rebellious nature, resists. They say, we will not. Then comes step three, and this is the amazing part. God takes that no, that resistance, and uses it to bring about a new, totally unexpected purpose. And all of this leads to the final verdict. Humanity is guilty for their response, but God is glorified in the result that he orchestrates from it. This single idea is really the core of the whole argument. The fault is assigned to the human act of rebellion, the no. But the glory goes to the divine plan that can take even that rebellion and bring something good out of it. And that is how this paradox of human responsibility and divine control gets reconciled. And so all of this leaves us with one last really deep question to think about. If even our resistance, our no, can end up serving a divine purpose, then what does it really mean for us to choose? It's a paradox that sits right at the very heart of faith, challenging us to somehow hold two truths that seem to contradict each other in a perfect, delicate balance.